Everybody, drop your buff.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Drop Your Buffs podcast, where we recap the triple S, as my mom called it to me. She said last week when we were talking about like if we had a subscription box to our podcast, like what we would send and how we'd have to put a buff in there so people would have their own buffs to drop. And my mom was like, you guys should totally put the triple S on your buff. And I was like, what's the triple S? And she was like, you know, strategize, strategy, the social game, and the stupidity. I was like, oh, that's genius. The triple S.
We had this tagline there all along and we didn't even know it.
We like made a brand out of this. And I was like trying to think of the buff, like what the buff would say. Like if it would be like out strategize, out socialize. And I was like, out stupidize? I have no idea. I was trying to think of
stupefy. There you go. Well, it sounds like your mother's a keeper. I'll definitely be going back to her with any questions I have in regards to the podcast because I definitely want to listen to that woman. She's got some great ideas.
Oh, she does.
How are you, Hannah? How has this week been?
I am doing good. This week has flown by. That Survivor episode like blew my mind, and I'm still like really just digesting it and trying to figure out what all happened.
Yes.
And I was trying to get my thoughts really straight before we talked. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. We're just going to talk it through and talk about what happened and what was good, what was bad, what was normal.
I have a feeling you and I are going to have very different views on this episode. But before we get to that, would you like to try some rapid fire questions?
Yeah, I guess I deserve it after I brought them to you last week.
And I was going to say, even if you don't want to, you're going to. All right. Are you ready for question 1?
Bring it.
All right. If you went to the Island of Idols, what do you think would be the lesson that you would need to learn?
Oh, dear. The one I would need to learn is how to lie better, because I think I'm a good liar, but then when like I play Secret Hitler with my friends or One Night Werewolf, I can be read like a book, apparently, and I need to get better at that.
That's a wonderful answer. I thought you'd struggle a little more with that, but I'm glad you're self-aware enough. Okay.
Yes.
Question number 2. We've seen a lot of challenges over the years. If you had the chance, what challenge would you want to compete in?
The challenge I want to compete in? You know what? I got to compete in a challenge I was really looking forward to. I call it the Kim Spradlin challenge. The one where she has, I call it the Kim Spradlin challenge because she won it. It's where it's that like big metal maze that you have a spool that you have to weave it through this standing maze, and you stack the spools on top of each other. And
right, the little wooden discs, and you have to make sure that you don't hit the metal frame so that they fall. I had a feeling you were going to say this, but I also had a feeling you wouldn't say this because you did get to try it, and it may have been the challenge that sent you home.
Yeah, I lost it by a hair. I was in the lead. It haunts me to this day, and I lost.
And I'm going to say that we were kind of happy. Anyway, question 3. Question 3, Lauren or Tommy?
Lauren.
Okay, after next week's episode, I'm interested to see how that goes. Where we saw that little glimpse. Okay,
we'll get into Lauren more later.
Sure. Okay, number 4. Out of all the themes we've seen on Survivor, what is your favorite? And that can be just men versus women. That can be Exile Island. What is your favorite theme? My
favorite theme. Well, my favorite season is San Juan del Sur, which was a blood versus water season. Now, because I love the drama of it, I don't think I would say that's my favorite theme. I think that brings in so much more than the Survivor game, you know, where you're stranded on an island with strangers. In blood versus water, there's so much more going on. So that's not my favorite theme. My favorite theme, you know, off the top of my head, I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, but I really liked the theme of Worlds Apart, where you had no collar, white collar, and blue collar. I loved that
Okay.
dynamic of like the tribe full of people who work, in the businessy field, and then you
Mm,
have the tribe of people who are like labor workers or whatnot, and then you have
yeah.
the tribe of people who are like hippies or something.
Free spirits, yeah.
Yeah, I love that theme. Didn't love that season, but that was pretty cool to see.
Interesting. I like that answer. All right. So, last question.
Okay.
And this is a big brother question.
Okay.
Would you rather win and be hated or lose and be loved?
Win and be hated, hands
Really?
down, all the time. Yeah,
Whoa,
I'm
I was
in it to
not
win it.
expecting that.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
my deep desire is to be loved by everyone. Like if I have a feeling that someone doesn't like me, and like chews me up from the inside. But if I'm gonna go play a reality game, I'm doing it to win, and not to be loved by America. So.
Wow, because I thought about this question myself, and for me, my mind came back to if there's something that is going to get me so hated, it's not worth winning.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you like
Yeah.
for this season's context, Elizabeth and Missy, it's not worth winning. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I would rather like for me, it's like don't be hated and get to the end. If you get to the end and you're hated, was it worth the win? I'd rather get to the end being well liked, or
Mhm.
get as close to the end without compromising what makes me me. And
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like I understand the same, and the same thing goes. Like, would you rather be hated? Because yes, you've gone there to win a game, but it's like I don't know. Be it that we are so versed in the reality TV world, we know
Uh-huh.
that you carry that with you in your real life. If it just was like game world and then real world, that might be different. But
You
I
can't
don't
separate
know.
them. Mhm.
Well, there you go. So you would rather be hated and win, and I would much rather be liked and lose. But hey,
Wow.
I have yet to win anything at
Wow.
this point, so so maybe
Yeah.
that's saying something.
Wow. That was so insightful right there.
Well, I mean, I wanted to give you like meaty questions for our rapid fire, knowing that there was only going to be 5 of them, but have something get the pistons going in our brain, so we're ready to talk about this episode of Survivor.
Boom. I love how the one question that wasn't meaty was Tommy or Lauren, and I'm like, Lauren. Like,
I like honestly like this whole season you've been talking about the two of them as a pair, and I know that you love
mhm.
Lauren, but
Mhm.
you did have the conversation last week about how you love her, but you don't necessarily know if she's going to get to the end or if she's going to win. And
Mhm.
so I thought if I would make you choose between the two,
Mhm.
it might give you more reason to think about it. Clearly not.
So my question coming into this episode with you, this recap, my
Uh
question
huh.
for you is, why is Lauren so amazing? Why is
I
she
will counter
everything
that
I
by saying
love?
she's not.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
well, I mean, she's a interesting character, but I'm finding more and more in the episodes that she's doing things that I'm not enjoying. Like her reaction to winning the challenge, I'm like, yeah, you won. You know you won. Like, stop amplifying it. Like, I like that you had that confessional of like, this is all I've ever wanted. But when she's sitting
Yeah,
there screaming like, I won. What do you mean I won? Well, we mean you were the last person to stand
I
with the ball
know.
against like it's
Yeah.
just kind of like I'm seeing character traits in these people who know that they're in the lead and they're playing out of this fear and they're playing into this idea. I'm like, own your moves,
Yeah.
own your wins.
Yeah.
And that's for me why I like someone like Nora, because she
Oh
doesn't
dear. Oh
compromise.
gosh.
She stands there and she's like, yeah, I won. And so many people can see that as such an ugly trait, but it's either side of it. And I guess Elaine does the similar kind of thing. She's like, did I
Right.
win? And we all kind
Oh.
of went,
Oh yeah.
it's that whole thing. But at the same time, there's something for me that's redeeming about Elaine in a group environment where Lauren in a group environment is kind of sharp,
Mhm.
where Elaine is kind of well rounded. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of seeing Elaine as a bit of the better social player out of the two of them.
Yeah. I would say that. I mean, we've seen Lauren do the remember when she told Nora to sit out of that challenge? Jeff was like, "Who's sitting out?" And
Yeah.
she's like, "Nora."
And you're like,
And
wait,
then
what?
I feel like we had another thing from oh, and when it was time to go to the it was time to go for someone to go to Island of the Idols and like So someone has to be picked unanimously, and Lauren's like, me?
Yeah.
Like, she's not doing that social game very self-aware, or I mean, she's
Well,
like you
or
said, she's being
is
sharp
she?
with it.
She's being sharp, but is she playing the hand that she has because she
Mhm.
knows she's in a good position?
Right. Right. So, like, going back to the immunity challenge and how, after she wins, she sits down and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I won." But just cut to like 5 minutes prior where I am watching her fight during that challenge, and
Yeah.
I am on the edge of my seat, and I was just like, I was covering my face. I wanted her to win that so bad. The tear is rolling down her cheek, and she's my girl. I am rooting for her. I see a lot of myself in her, and I
And it's
also
so
love,
funny
yeah.
because I was watching like on the edge of my seat, hoping she would lose. Like
I feel like a lot of people were,
I really wanted to see Elaine go to tribal council with immunity, and
and the idol.
yes, because I just thought that would have been an amazing tribal council where it's
Mhm,
not only a matter of she's safe, but
mhm.
who is she going to keep safe, keeping the other side on their toes, and forcing someone like Dean, we'll get to that, forcing someone like Dean to actually have to make the moves with them. But I do appreciate where you stand in your support of Lauren.
Yeah, and Lauren, whether she knew it or not, she needed to win that immunity because we saw people already talking about how they were gonna vote. They needed to get Lauren out, and I love how she, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like she is seen as the target and the threat, and Tommy is seen as her wingman. Like, I feel like we heard someone say, like, Tommy is wrapped around her finger,
Yeah, he's the
and
brawn to her brains.
And that's great for Tommy. I feel like he wants his threat level to be low.
Hmm.
And yeah, for Lauren, it's not good to be seen as the target, but I love how she's seen as the player in that duo. And I see them as like the Wendell and Dom situation, even mostly because Lauren tweeted,
Ooh,
she
that's a big.
tweeted on, let me tell you what she did.
Okay.
She tweeted a picture of her and Tommy, and she did that thing going around Twitter and Instagram and whatnot, that whole I'm going to tell my kids that this
Yeah.
was. So
Uh-huh.
she said, I'm going to tell my kids that this was Wendell and Dom or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
I know. And I was like, oh, wow. But now
Of
that I
all of
think
the
about it,
duos,
I know.
I would have gone with JT and Steven
Oh, I
personally.
know. I know. So, like, this really made me start thinking, like, if those two make it to the end with, someone like Dan or Nora or something, like, I could totally imagine this being a Wendell and Dom situation where both of them are fighting for the votes and it being like
Hmm.
an equal matchup
Yeah.
in totally different ways almost.
Well, let me give you my perspective of the people
Mhm.
left in this game. So,
Mhm.
spoiler alert, we watched
Uh-oh.
this episode and Karishma gets sent home.
That was a huge shock.
I This is the most disappointing tribal result that has happened since Chelsea got voted out. For
Wow.
all of that to happen and then to send Karishma home, it just was
Wow.
like, what? And like, I think Kelly said it herself, where she's like, they are making the dumbest moves.
Mhm.
Oh,
You
what
have
is happening? Like,
you have loved cool, calm Karishma since the beginning, haven't you?
I
Or like,
have, okay,
mhm.
here's the thing. It's not even about my love for Karishma because we all know that she has kind of done this teeter-totter thing for me, this
This weeble
seesaw back and
wobble.
right, this weeble wobble, as Jeff Probst would say, because I love the raw, real Karishma, and I'm going to take this
Mhm.
moment to tell everybody who's listening: if you haven't watched the Ponderosa videos, please go and watch them. You see a completely different side to our cast members. It's
Mhm.
so refreshing. It's such a nice side of Survivor that you don't get to see in the everyday show.
I love the Ponderosa ones.
Did you watch Karishma's?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I watched that today after I rewatching the episode. It
Uh-huh.
was probably my favorite one so far.
Oh.
She literally gets back and she's like, I can be me now. And it was
Wow.
like, that was the whole premise of her experience of Ponderosa from that video. It's now we get to see the real Karishma because she was having to play as a different person, play with a different set of cards, just completely out of her element, out of her comfort zone. It's a group of people that didn't necessarily enjoy her. And now we're getting to see her enjoying herself and having other people enjoy her as well. And it's really refreshing. So I recommend that.
I did listen to her exit interview on Rob Has a Podcast. And she has said that, like, yeah, she didn't really have any friends in the game, but after the game, she's made really strong friendships with these people. So that really goes along with what you're saying.
I believe it because you also pretty much get a confessional from every single person who's there with her, talking about how much they're enjoying having her there and seeing that side of her.
Wow, that's a shocker. Wow.
Well, the first person to admit it is Aaron, which for me, like, he probably has the most confessionals talking about how it's so good to see her out of the game.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I hats off to you guys. Clearly you're in game mode and then there's human mode. And I'm enjoying seeing this cast in human mode.
Like, Karishma has had the craziest, most roller coaster of a character arc that we have ever seen on Survivor.
Yeah.
We've seen we're seeing her as a goat. We're seeing her as the outcast. We're seeing her as the idol player, like, that canceled.
She actually got she got 2 records this season.
Yeah.
Her first record was she was the person to receive the most votes in one single season of Survivor, having her name written down 22 times.
Dang.
Which some people would be like, that's terrible, but if you can survive that long after receiving that many votes, exactly. The other one, which I believe she tied for, was receiving the most votes from one single contestant, which was Dean writing her name down 5 times. And I believe it was Jane and Marty in Nicaragua who had that prior to this. So they tied in season. But I don't know if that's a sentiment to her or saying how poor of a game player Dean is.
I totally see that as a Dean thing.
Right.
I mean,
so
he saw a confessional where I think he was like, finally getting you out.
Right. Here's the thing, but she's done the same thing to him. So they're just as bad as each other. So coming into this, I was like, this Karishma, disappointing because she's been such an iconic player in this game. This was not the tribal council to get Karishma out. Especially be it that when we had the people on the reward go and they were like, we want to get Elaine. That was their main focus. We have the tribal, the challenge take place, the immunity challenge take place. On the walk back, we have a confessional from Tommy saying, now we get a chance to take out Karishma. We haven't had them talk yet about Elaine having an idol. So why is the vote being taken off Elaine and put back onto Karishma? We never saw this transaction happen. We saw the option of splitting the vote between Elaine and Karishma. But
they're talking about how Elaine was the target.
Right. So then why, when we finally get to tribal council, sure, I understand that now we know Elaine has an immunity idol because Nora isn't normal. And it just threw me. I'm like, why are we getting a confessional from Tommy prior to tribal council about the vote going for Karishma? I'm missing something. And I'm wondering if that was a confessional taken after tribal council, put into this episode, just to kind of give us kind of like a storyline to kind of be like Karishma's an option now, because we never actually saw that conversation take place because they were all like Elaine all the way with Karishma as the second vote.
So are you thinking that the Karishma plan, are you thinking that happened during the tribal council blow up? Well,
here's the thing. She was always the second option, correct?
Right. And she has always been the target.
Right, but Tommy specifically said in his confessional, leaving the immunity challenge, now because she's not protected, we can get rid of Karishma.
Yeah.
I never got the moment of, why are we not voting out Elaine anymore? So that just kind of put me off guard. I'm like, I get it. I get why the votes landed the way they did based off of knowing that there's an idol left in the game. But at what point did we, like, once they cheers to voting out Elaine?
Yeah.
What happened in that time?
Man.
So for me, I see this tribal council. So we've discussed that we want to bring up certain points in this episode rather than just going chronologically.
Yeah.
My first point is titled Dean, Dean, Dean.
Dean.
Because I have many differing thoughts about Dean.
Same. Like, I've been wondering, oh my gosh. So my big thought about Dean with this tribal is like, what did Dean and Elaine plan this?
Nope.
This
It
blow
couldn't
up?
have been. You know why?
Was it just Dean? Yeah, tell me why.
She had an idol. She had something on the line. She was willing to try and use that idol to help that side. This was purely a selfish move by Dean. So I don't know whether to like think poorly of him or to applaud him on this move, because this had nothing to do with anybody else but Dean.
And we got little glimpses of him saying that Nora is not trustworthy and he's like doesn't want to play with her. So is he's doing this to put crap on Nora?
Well, here's the thing. Who was the person that stirred it up at tribal council? Who's the person that made the vote change? Nora kept her mouth shut. Dean's the one that's not trustworthy.
Boom. Drop the ball.
Why? Do you know what I mean? It was so like, I'm like, first thing he does is turns to Tommy and says, they want to vote you out. I'm not going to. It was a selfish move by Dean. The only thing that makes sense to me is Dean doesn't want to go further in the game with Elaine,
exactly,
Krishna, and Nora.
That's the only reason why he had to do it. If he feels that way.
My whole thing is, I think that's a personal choice versus a game choice. Because if you go to the final four with them, here's the other thing. He's probably like, Nora's winning immunity challenges. Elaine's winning immunity challenges. If I end up in a challenge where the two of them last longer than me, and for whatever reason, Karishma lasts longer than me, Dean went out before Karishma this time. This is an ego move.
I love it because
such an ego move.
He's been doing so bad at challenges. Like, yeah, he should go to the final four with those three girls. But
thinking that he'd be the physical threat. But he wouldn't be.
Now that he's doing so bad, he's probably like, I can't go to the end.
So I think it's in his best bet. In my mind, he doesn't want to sit next to women at the end.
Yeah.
Not for any kind of like men are better than women situation.
Right.
He just doesn't have a chance of winning this game sitting next to a woman at the end. Because they've all proven to be much more impressive than him. So, in my mind, he's thinking Tommy and Dan, be it that Dan is obviously not well-liked by a majority of the people left in the game and on the jury. And Tommy is one of those people that you really can say, he just followed Lauren.
Yeah. And that's what they're perceiving right now.
And who knows, maybe Dean gets to the end with Dan and Tommy and plays the case of Tommy was riding Lauren's coattails, Dan was riding Tommy and Lauren's coattails, and I had to make a hero of my own. Because
I can't imagine this. I mean, I could see it, but like, this is ridiculous. I love it.
So here's my thing. I think that Dean is an idiot for making the move that we didn't want to see. We wanted to see the misfits come together, especially after the statement from Dan being like, those
oh my
weirdos.
Gosh. Dan is the worst.
It's just, and like pumping himself up at tribal council when
don't even talk about that fist pumping. I cannot. He did that already once for when Kelly got voted out. He fist pumped. I know. And I was like, yeah, I understand the feeling, but you don't do it out loud like that. And you could smile. I'm cool with people smiling when people
but it's such an ugly trait.
But then he did it again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, hate Karishma all you want, but stop with the cockiness.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I just don't see that as a redeeming quality for the people on the jury to be like, you know what, you pumped yourself after making that win every time, and you like put that person down. I'm going to vote for you to win $1 million. Like, I just don't understand the mentality behind it. I also would like to bring up a point. When he had his loved one visit, and Jeff announced that it's the youngest person to ever come out for a young one visit, Did that spark your ears up at all?
Well, yeah, I was like, how young is whoever's coming out? I don't know.
So you don't remember the youngest person prior?
Boston?
Boston, Shane Powers' son,
Yes. Was he?
Survivor Panama.
How old was he?
I looked it up.
Okay.
I had to look this up because I went to a bunch of different pages to try and figure this out. Boston was 14 years old when he went on the
Oh,
air.
and Dan's son is 13.
Correct.
So he now has the new.
I thought he was younger. I thought Boston was a lot younger when he went out to see Shane. But I could only find, I ended up finding his IMDb page because he was technically on a TV show, because he was a guest on the episode of Survivor. So considering that, I'm assuming every single loved one who's ever been on Survivor has their own IMDb page.
Oh my gosh, Donovan's Aunt Patty has her own IMDb page.
Internet Movie Database. There you go. Look them up. Every loved one on Survivor. They may not have a photo, but they do have a credit.
I love it.
So yeah, so my looking at this episode, my dreams were coming true. The group of the misfits that I've always labeled, I was like, Dean has to come into this group. He can't keep on fighting this group. And you know what? He broke my heart.
Yeah, he
broke
did.
my heart. He got them turning on each other. Karishma was cool, calm Karishma turning around saying 10 minutes ago she was with us.
Oh, I love that point.
She's so good. She's so good. And we saw a side of Nora that we didn't want to see, which was her doggy paddling
Rambling.
for her life. It was
lie on top of lie on top of lie, trying to...
But you know what she did do as well? She just called out that idol immediately, completely. Yeah. It didn't gain her any favors. It lost her favors. If she had gone into the next episode and said, hey guys, so Elaine actually told me she's got an idol because she's trying to get me over to work with them. She could have used that for the next episode. They didn't have to know that she knew about it before the last vote.
Well, but they threw her right under the bus. And
but it makes her
I don't understand.
More untrustworthy. It doesn't make her look more trustworthy.
I know. Well, but she had already been fighting against, already looking that way because she had to admit that, she was going to vote for Tom, or like she said she wasn't going to vote for Tommy, but she was going to vote for Tommy. And here's my thing. Like Dean, by doing that, he totally... So here's when I was thinking about it, I'm like, all right, so Dean burnt the bridge with Nora in that Misfits alliance. He burnt that bridge. He's like, nope, this isn't going to happen. And so they lost that number of Nora, and they lose the number of Karishma because she gets voted out. So, he just lost two people that he was theoretically working with that episode.
He doesn't
want to. And so I'm like, all right, so Dean is trying to forge his way further trying to make a path with Tommy because he just revealed something with Tommy. He wants them to not trust Nora. He wants to take her spot. I bet that Elaine also thinks that she has an inroad with Tommy. I think we see Tommy.
But at the tribal council, Tommy looks at Elaine and he's like, you were coming after me? She's like, I wasn't going for you. And it's like, do we trust that? Because Elaine was also the person to save Tommy when she went up to him and said, you're the vote, but I want to vote out Missy. So we know that they have a history, those two.
Yeah.
But the question is Dean trying to move in on Lauren's man and take her spot?
Oh,
because
my God.
If he can manage that, I'm starting to see an edit where Dean wins this game.
I cannot imagine.
It's really hard to... But here's the thing. Nora was like, stop looking at Dean's pretty face. Don't look.
I love it.
And you saw Kelly, you saw Missy, everybody was laughing in the jury. People are liking Dean. And we had talked very strongly about how we think that the people in the jury won't like Dean. But if Dean starts making these moves for himself, like telling Tommy at a tribal council and getting Karishma voted out, who he's been wanting out, clearly, because he's voted for her 5 times, like, he's starting to play the end game. And it's like, he's not playing with the people he started this game with. He was on the outs when he was left out of the Chelsea vote. He's starting to redeem himself. And it's one of those things that him smirking and Nora like getting baited by that.
Yeah.
This is the confidence that I've been wanting to see out of a contestant for the whole season. I've been saying up to this point, every single player has been playing out of fear. None of these moves have been made out of confidence and about feeling like ahead of the pack and
Offense rather than defense. That's what you want. You want the offense.
right. He's starting to play offense. He
So
really
that
is.
part that you mentioned about like when he's smiling and she's like, "Don't look at Pretty Dean." I as an older sibling, I have a younger brother. I
Uh-huh.
felt that moment in like the brother sister way where
Yeah.
like your sibling is getting in trouble and you're just like smirking to the side because
Mhm.
you know that you kind of caused them getting in trouble and you're
Right.
just smiling and they're like, "Don't look at her." So I felt
Well,
like Dean was like that smirking sibling, like, "Haha,
mhm.
got you."
Well, I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to make the segue to a sibling situation we saw between Nora
Wow, that
and
was
her
great.
sister. And we
Mhm.
saw a real life moment with Jeff, who offered to have her ride shotgun with him and see the challenge play out because she had a sight impairment.
Visual impairment.
Yeah,
That was my drop your buff moment. It's like
sweet.
I've already talked about how I get really choked up and emotional during family visits, the
Yeah.
loved ones reward. On our Instagram yesterday, we shared our favorite loved ones
Uh-huh.
moments. We had other people share their favorite moments. We put some clips in there. Go check out our Instagram, Drop
Yeah.
Your Buffs podcast.
Just to put it out there, my favorite moment was when Jenna Lewis in season 1 did not get a video because her family didn't send it in time, and she just sits there crying.
Oh, that was awful. That was awful. So, anyways, all that to say, I love loved ones visits. I always get choked up, but this episode, I did get choked up during the loved ones, but I actually like a tear fell when Jeff asked Nora's sister to come ride shotgun with him because of her impairment. I was like, oh gosh, Jeff, this is too much for me. I can't handle it. We saw Nora start crying right before the
Yeah.
challenge too. It was
It,
so precious.
it was a sweet moment, and I really hope that the audience doesn't read into it as another opportunity for them to kind of like milk real life differences
Oh,
in people.
yeah, I hope
Because you
not.
know what? That would be an absolute shame because this is the reality of this person's circumstances. And for the situation and the scenario at hand, what's the point of having a loved one out there if they can't actually get to
I
experience?
know, yeah. That was so great. Something else I want to talk about this reward challenge
Hmm.
is so this is kind of like fresh from the group chat thought, I feel like every time there's a loved one's visit, whoever I'm talking to, there's always someone who says, "Oh, you have to throw the loved one's visit. That's what you've got to do. You've got
Right.
to throw it. You don't want to win it because
Hmm.
you don't want to be the one picking who gets love, right?"
Right.
Well, did you notice that? I'm sure as you did, that this reward challenge, you are tied up to someone as a pair
Hmm.
partner.
Hmm.
I think, what do you think? Do you think that Survivor did this on purpose? Because you can't really throw the challenge when you're tied to a partner. And
Huh.
if you do try to throw the challenge, your partner might find it very obvious and that would cause more drama to happen.
That's very interesting. I hadn't thought about that concept, but it
Yeah.
definitely does amplify the situation. What it also amplifies is that there are now two people deciding who gets love,
Mhm.
and they either pick one each, or because they don't know that they each get to pick one, they
Mhm.
really have to kind of be like, who can we, the two of us, justify gets love along with us?
And at the same time, it also removes the target or removes the pressure off of one person
Correct.
doesn't get all of the
And I think
shame for who they pick.
that might actually be a bigger point because in the
Yeah.
past, whoever wins a loved one visits gets so much heat. And I think that's starting to get old. And I think
Yeah.
the Survivor people are like, how are we going to take the heat off the person who wins? And so maybe by pairing them up, not only did it stop them from attempting to lose the challenge, but it also gave them more permission to win the challenge, knowing that they were one of two people.
Yep. Yep. So anyways, I thought that was really interesting.
We might see this a lot more in the future
What did you
based
think
on these
about this?
readings.
What did you think about this challenge?
It was a close fight. It really
Yeah.
was. And you know what? Now thinking about it, It reminds me of like season 2, Jerry and Colby tied together and him throwing her through that tire onto the floor. It was one of those
Wow.
ones that you really either get to fight to win or treat the person that you're tied up to really poorly. Also, seen in Fans versus Favorites, season 16, when Chet
Okay.
was being dragged around like a rag doll.
Is
That
this the
man was being smacked up against everything. And
Is
it
this
was
the part where
painful to watch.
that moment happened where he says, like, I hit my head back there?
He's like,
And
I
then
don't care.
and the guy says, I don't care, and then he goes, I know. That's like one of my favorite moments.
What was his name? The behemoth man that
I
they
have no
put
idea.
to like balance out James on the other tribe. I'm pretty sure he has a name that we've seen again come up because once looking up somebody's name, he popped up. I was like, was that his name? Anyway, very
Is it like John something?
I thought it was a John because we've seen a bunch of Johns throughout the series. But
The author. Hi.
John was the one that was dating in San Juan del Sur. He was dating the woman.
Oh, John Rocker? Are you talking about John Rocker?
Yeah, the baseball player or something?
Yeah. What
Yeah,
about
so
him?
he was dating Julie.
Yeah?
Yeah, so he was the other John that I forgot about that had played the game.
Oh, a giant man.
Wait. Oh, did we have 2 Johns that season? Because
Yes.
then there was, wow. There's been a lot of Johns, and none of them have won. So,
We just need a
shout out to Johns in the survival world.
We need a Djon to
A
go.
Dijon, yeah. Put
Go
a D
play.
in front.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have something random that I want to bring up about this
Please.
episode. This is going to be so random. I
Okay.
don't know if anyone else caught this. I cannot wait to listen to Rob Has a Podcast to see if if anyone on Rob Has a Podcast caught this. But Dean drops his Instagram handle during his loved one visit.
Tell me about that because I think you mentioned it in the group chat or I read it in the group chat, but I didn't pick up on this even myself. Okay,
let me give a little history about why I know Dean's Instagram handle. I do not follow him on Instagram, but Djon, since Djon is a fan of Dean, I found this link once to this shirt that Dean is producing. What does the shirt say? I don't even remember. It's like Team Dean. Dean is the best survivor. It's this random shirt.
He gets all of his friends and family and followers, I guess, to buy the shirt. They pretty much just tag him in them, and then he will go and, put it on his story to show all the support that he's getting on the season. Really cool.
And the reason why the shirt's so funny, it's like a drawing of him in a Speedo or something.
But they put his real head on the cartoon.
Which has nothing to do with Survivor, though. It's not like he's wearing a Speedo on Survivor. Okay, so I sent this link to Djon, like, look at this ridiculous shirt. And that's when I saw on his website that he's like promoting himself as like, what do you call them? Like he's like promoting himself to like come DJ your wedding, to host your event. Yeah, he has like.
He's like an MC.
Oh, like an MC, and he's also an officiant. Is that what it's called? The
officiant?
person who can marry you. Yeah, like he is promoting himself on his website to do all these things.
Hannah, if you and I ever get married, he will have to be our officiant. Like he'll have to do it.
To each other or to other people?
No, to each other. I'm saying I'm never getting that man to marry me to anybody but you.
Oh, I love it. Okay, do we need to make like a agreement like when we're 40 if we're not married?
Honey, that's only 10 years away from me. Let's not do that.
Okay, we'll make it what about 70? Like we could be like an old married couple.
Perfect.
Dean will marry us.
Yeah.
Okay, all that to say, at the bottom of his website, he has a link to his Instagram. And his Instagram handle is DK Chilling, right?
Did he say DK Chilling to his mother?
So
he whispered sweet nothings to her.
When his mom is running out, you can hear it because I listened to it twice. You could hear someone, him or someone, one of the survivors, say DK Chilling, and I was like, did they just drop his Instagram handle? Isn't that the most random thing? Like, I was like, what does his Instagram handle have to do with his mom? Or they just like yelling it randomly to hope to get it in the episode?
Well, here's the other thing. It clearly didn't do very well if you're the only person who's picked up on it. You
Well,
know?
yeah, that is true. So I just searched it on Instagram. Yes, his handle is DK Chillin, and he only has 9,000 followers compared to like, the classic, usually when you're on a reality TV show, you can like really get a
Right.
lot of followers. Well,
Yeah.
Dean, it's not working out, bud.
Here's the thing. I'm almost, be it that he's been plugging the season so strongly from the start of the season, it gives me the impression that he's going to be like at least at the fire challenge.
I'm here for it. I don't want him to win, and but like I would love to see him argue himself at final.
Right now, my only potential winners are Dean and Elaine.
Wow.
In terms of people that I could sit at the end and go, you did actually have to fight a game and you made moves and did all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. I know that I'm putting a lot of like, I don't want to say hate towards Lauren, but I just, I'm not seeing the redeeming qualities in her that I'm seeing in people like Elaine and somehow Dean. Because
have you lost your hope of Nora from this past episode? Are you like Nora's a goner, or like has no
after that
hope?
move, it's clear
Yeah.
that she's being played. She's not playing people. And
because you've had good arguments for her in the past about like how she could fight for herself, and you've really freaked me out of imagining her winning this game. And I mean, I'm one of the people like, yeah, Nora is really good TV, but I do not want her to be the winner. Like that, just I cannot imagine that. I don't want
so
that.
I did actually see Nora's 8-minute audition video. 8 minutes.
Send it to me. I need to see this.
It's in one of the Facebook Survivor pages. She's
Oh my gosh.
very charming.
Uh-huh.
She's very straightforward. And it just gives you more of an idea of who this woman is. And she's just a character. And I think that we've seen the craziest parts of her.
Yeah, we have.
And unfortunately, after the last tribal council, it's clear that that's what the contestants want you to think as well. And her best bet is to play cool, and she just succumbs to it way too easily. She's way too easy to bait. And if someone like Dean can bait her, even sitting next to him at the end, she's going to have a really hard time.
Speaking of Nora, so I brought up Dean's Instagram handle. Well, Nora's handle was also mentioned this episode.
What?
When Karishma votes for Nora, she writes on her vote, Nora does not know best.
Never. We'll never know best.
Oh, we'll never know best. And Nora's handle is Nora knows best.
Oh.
And apparently, listening to Karishma's interview, her exit interview with Rob, apparently Nora would that was her slogan out there on the island. Like she would always be dropping that Nora knows best. Nora knows best.
Hilarious. Okay, so that totally makes sense for Karishma's statement now, and gives me even more reason to love Karishma.
I know. Isn't that so good? How that's a great lasting impact. Like Karishma gets voted out, but she did leave that with Nora seeing that vote that says Nora will never know best.
And Nora, you saw Nora's face being like,
she's trying to read it. She was like, huh? What? And she goes, oh, uh-huh.
All right, so I do want to take this opportunity. The one person that we haven't mentioned at all this episode is our beloved Janet. And how are we feeling about Janet right now? Because Janet went from being a very strong strategical player in the earlier part of the game, having a very real life moment, putting the game to the side in order to do what she believed was right. Now she's kind of riding on the coattails. People are in fear that she has the potential of winning, but she's kind of laying low. Something that I would compare to someone like Lauren from last season, who she played a pretty strong
the young girl.
Yep, and then she kind of died down at the end. I was always a fan of Lauren's. I always wanted her to win. And then by the end, people were like, I don't think she'll win. But I was like, she had such a strong early game. Can we really
She lost
that?
it at, was it Final 5 that Lauren was out, Final 5?
Yeah, because she didn't get to the fire challenge.
Man, I like that comparison a lot because Janet has so much potential. And if she makes it to the end, she does have a great argument if she can argue herself really well.
Yeah.
But will the the wheels fall off the car in the next
Yeah.
couple rounds.
I wonder this. I think if she gets to the end, she will be able to talk her game well. There are
Mhm.
some people who talk their games poorly. I think an example of that will probably be someone like Dan, possibly even Tommy. I even saw some comments from Tommy at Tribal Council today where he's like, what we're seeing here is a learning moment where
Teaching time
you
with
need to,
Tommy.
yeah, and it's like teaching time with Tommy, you need to tell people when they need to know things. And I was like, go jump. It's nobody's
What do you say?
responsibility. Go jump, like jump off a cliff.
Go
Is that, like,
jump.
is that an Australian thing? Is that,
You just,
it's like, just go jump. Like, nobody
so
needs
you
to
guys
hear that.
you guys don't say go jump off a bridge, you just say go jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
jump.
Just go jump. Like, I mean, maybe that's me shortening. I abbreviate everything.
I love it.
But
I'm gonna start doing it now.
just go jump. Like,
Go
seriously.
jump.
Like, who are you? Why do you have the audacity? If he was someone like Jamal would have turned around and said, unfortunately, this is one of those situations that had we known this information prior to this tribal council, we wouldn't be receiving the heat that we're receiving right now. And I think we've all learned from this moment that like communication goes a long way. You know? And
We
Tommy
got
just took this
teacher
moment.
voice, Tommy. He had his teacher voice on. For
Yeah,
sure.
which is I'm the authoritative figure.
Mhm.
And so it's like, go jump. Like, it's like, it was a very unlikable moment for me to see from Tommy.
Do you guys ever say like go take a hike?
I
like,
think
do you guys-
go jump is like our like alternative.
So you
Maybe
don't
I'm
say-
making this up as well. Who knows?
You don't say go take.
No, well, I mean, nobody said, well, we don't do
I'm
hiking
just
in
kidding.
Australia. Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
I feel like that's a very American thing. Well, you want to get a hike to somewhere, every city is 8 hours apart. There's nowhere nearby that you're going to be hiking to.
Wow. Well, okay, so back to Tommy. I still see the potential of, so you said that the people you see winning are Elaine or Dean.
Or Janet. I'm going to add her in there.
Yeah, I could see anyone winning. I think we have not gotten any content from Dan to imagine him winning.
No.
I personally could not see Nora winning. And besides that, I could see anybody else winning. So
Interesting. I mean, Tommy and Lauren have cases to win. I'm just wondering if they'll talk themselves up or talk themselves down.
We are, and I love how we're seeing the flaws of everybody.
Yeah.
I
We're
love
also
it.
seeing the strengths of everybody.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. People like Tommy and Lauren, I think they would be the people that sit at the end next to Dan and discredit his game so much that it doesn't make themselves look good.
Ooh, that's always a bad look at tribal. Like
And
that,
I think that's
that
what
balance,
they're wanting to do.
That balance of like not disrespecting someone so badly that like people don't like you, but also like, oh.
If anybody watches Australian Survivor, the final of the last season, I'm not going to name who was in it because it's definitely a season worth watching, but there were people at the final too, and one person would make a statement very in support of their own game, very confident, very proud, and then the other person would try to do the same thing, making these statements, and the first person literally in the middle of it turned around and said, that's not true. And
how was it perceived?
And so the first person was like, wait, what do you mean? And that initial person gave point by point by point by point why that couldn't have been the case. And it left the other person just going,
and
well,
it wasn't seen bad?
No, because they weren't doing it to say this person's an idiot. They were just calling out what they were saying.
They were
and
fighting
like,
their point.
Correct. They were just like, I'm letting you know right now that what that other person is saying does not apply in this situation.
Okay, so I love that. My question for you, what if Tommy, Lauren, Janet are final three? Who wins?
Janet.
Wow. Which I would love that because, just the visual of Tommy, the alpha male, losing to any female is just would be kind of groundbreaking because we all know that the big guy, you never bring the big buff guy to the end because they'll always win. That's been like the stereotype.
Right.
And so I love this idea that maybe this might not happen. Oh,
well, here's the thing. I'm like,
I will
I
say
mean, that
love
was also
Tommy, though.
season 2. That was a Tina and Colby situation.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
he made the mistake of not taking Keith. But it was like, part of me, I think the OG Survivor fan in me says that Janet wins, but we've
Mhm.
seen so many seasons recently that they're like, I like this person as a human being, but game is game, and I think that person played a better game. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if we're going to see people favor game over real life, where this season has been such a real life heavy season, which is why I think that Janet would win.
Whatever happens, I just have a big feeling that this jury is going to be intense. I think that the jury questioning, no matter who's in the final,
Right?
I think that the jury is filled up with people who are
All
just like
very well spoken.
well spoken, and every day in every tribal just feel like there's like more gasoline poured on the fire. Like they just look like they're ready to blow. So
Yep.
it's going
And
to be insane.
right. And for me, it's also like, are we gonna see these people fight for a person to win, or are we gonna see them make them fight for their own place?
Right, right.
Because even what I found interesting was when Missy got back to Ponderosa, Kelly was like, I was rooting for you. I really wanted you to win.
Mhm.
Obviously, we all have the information that we have now, but in the game, they still really appreciate each other's gameplay. So it's like, are they going to appreciate someone like Tommy's gameplay, or are they going to appreciate that Janet was able to get herself out of a bad situation?
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's really all up in the air at this point. I'm trying to think. Okay, another point that I would like to make:
Yes.
the vote,
The vote.
right? The numbers of the vote.
So I wrote down who voted for who, if you want me to
Cool.
say it.
Go for it.
The people, because this super surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
The people who voted for Nora were Karishma,
Yep.
Janet, and
Yep.
Dan,
Correct.
and the rest were Karishma.
Uh-huh.
So for some reason, I thought that like Dean and Elaine would also be voting Nora, but it's like, no, they were on the side that was voting Karishma.
So here's the
So
thing.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the episode, Karishma, when Nora was saying they're going to split the votes and they're getting us to vote this way, and Karishma says, perfect, because it just takes our votes to take out one person. And guess what happened?
Oh.
Split the votes. They could have just the three who have, like, obviously Dean and Nora were not going to vote together at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And Karishma was also discrediting Nora and all that kind of stuff. But they had the ability to take someone out still, and they just went with what we knew could happen, what they knew could happen. Like, that's why I'm also sitting here going, is Dean making big moves, or is Dean just making moves for himself? Because, it's not a great move for Elaine. That was a terrible move for Elaine. She had a better chance at playing with Nora and Karishma,
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, I don't know. It seemed odd that they were still able to split the vote and get away with it.
Yeah, I just think that this is speculating. We haven't seen it, but it could easily be a thing going on where people like Tommy or Lauren or Dan or Janet are making Dean and Elaine feel so comfortable and feel like, oh yeah, next vote, me and you we're gonna pair up with them, and like they must picture themselves going to the end with someone in this majority alliance, and they're willing to like trust that. And so props to the people who are making them feel comfortable and giving them hope, because that's what this Survivor is all about.
Well, I mean, it led to my drop your buff moment, which was Dean just turning to Tommy and being like, they're voting for you, but I'm not. I was like,
yeah,
what just happened? Like, but that for me this was very, very thought out and planned. I'm going to wait till Tribal Council to mention this to cause chaos.
Yeah.
Because if I do this before Tribal Council, it's going to give them too much time to actually discuss it within each other and come out to a solution that doesn't help me.
What do you call it? Strategy, social game, or stupidity?
Can it be all three?
I love it.
And like
Oh my gosh.
legitimately, like I won't know until I know who wins.
Dean is the poster child of
Of
Drop Your
who?
Buffs podcast.
Of
Just kidding.
strategy, social.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, no, thank you. Okay. I love it. I love that I'm going to start saying normal in my conversations with all my survivor friends. We're going to talk
yeah,
about that's so normal or you're being
yeah.
normal
There's
or
something a little askew, just a little askew. Are you being normal or are you being normal?
normal.
Yeah.
I love it. Anything else you want to say before we talk about next time on Survivor?
Um. Also, straight into a challenge. Like, not only did we not even get fever dreams, we didn't even get camp life after tribal council. We went straight into a challenge. Have we seen that before? I'm sure we might have seen it once or twice,
I
but
think we saw it previous seasons when it's the loved ones visit. I think when it's the loved ones visit,
hey,
it
one more
goes straight
time.
to it. Yeah. And you know me, I'm cool with it. I'm like, bring it on. I love it.
But you can't tease me like this, Survivor. Give me fever dreams. Don't give me fever dreams. I'm holding my breath for these things. And I just need some kind of consistency in my Survivor life.
hmm
Just playing with my feelings.
This whole season has been playing with feelings, that's for sure. So,
Yeah.
so I think the big takeaway from next time on Survivor is where Tommy is talking to Lauren and he
Mm-hmm.
says, "Oh, there's no way they're coming after you," and then immediately cuts to him talking to the camera like, "I've got to get her out." So we don't know if he's talking about Lauren,
Correct.
but they're
So,
making us think that.
well, who are his options? There's Elaine or Janet. So my gut is telling me it's either Janet or Lauren. But based on the context, I don't know that they would so blatantly pitch it falsely. I think the
Yeah.
conversation is directed towards Lauren.
Yeah, especially since this episode we heard people saying like Lauren is a big target. I bet Tommy is very aware that people perceive her as
And from
stringing him along.
Lauren posting a picture saying Wendell and Dom, because we know that
Yeah.
it came to this point of the game and they were very much trying to take each other out.
How am I supposed to be handling my nerves, Dion, while Lauren is still in the game? I want her to win. I want her to stay in. But every episode she's still in is like me freaking out the whole hour, thinking she's
We'll
going
just
to
get
be
her voted
voted
out next
out.
episode.
No. Gosh, I love her so much. I don't know.
Well, here's the
I
thing.
haven't loved a survivor more than Lauren in a long time. I've got to be honest. Like I
That's
just love
interesting.
Lauren.
I feel like that was Lauren for me last season. Look at us with our Laurens.
It's a Lauren thing. Okay.
Um,
Yes.
but in saying that, if the original Vokai wanted to make a move against one of their own and still have the numbers, this would be the episode to do it, and the move would be to take out Lauren.
Yeah, it's always at 7, isn't it?
Mhm.
When 7 is
Well,
the
here's
big
the
time to
thing.
flip.
It's
I mean,
five. It's five in their number. They've got the majority. They've still got Nora. They can take out. I just think that Lauren has a stronger game to pitch than Janet in Tommy's eyes. And so he'd be more willing to cut her out now than say go for an easy target.
let's don't let it happen. Okay.
Mm,
I'm looking forward to it.
me too.
We have one more episode and then the finale. Is that how it's
Yeah,
working?
I believe so. Do we think we should be getting a guest in for next episode? It's been a while.
I would love that. We got to prepare some rapid fire questions for whoever we have next.
Amazing. So that's definitely going to happen.
All right, guys. I think that's it. Let's drop all the things, not the buffs. Let's drop all the handles, not the buffs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
DK chillin'.
DK chillin', Nora knows best, Dion Alexander, Hannah Julia. We have an Instagram called Drop Your Buffs Podcast.
Woo.
And on our Instagram, I posted a little video of Dion sharing how Hannah was the thorn in my side. It was so great.
And there's also me picking up my my buff around my chest.
It's great. And I don't know if they posted, we might be posting some more Insta stories. And find us on Twitter and YouTube.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it. And as Jeff said, what did he say at Tribal Council?
I love that moment. I've got nothing for you.
And they just lost it.
I feel like Jeff was as speechless as we were after that tribal. So
That was very funny.
Dion, I loved recording this podcast. I love talking about Survivor with you. And I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
And you too. And
All
I'll
right.
see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Everybody, drop your buff.
Drop your buffs. Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.